to
Now you're good.
the April 28th Bremerton Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. And I am calling this meeting to order. And did everyone have a chance to look at the agenda?
Yep.
So
I would move that we approve the agenda.
okay,
I will second that.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Approval of the minutes. We did that. Oh, the agenda. I didn't do the agenda.
You just.
I did. Okay, I didn't do the minutes then.
Not
Thank
yet,
you.
yeah.
Okay. So, do we have any discussion about the minutes from the meeting for March 24th?
No.
Any corrections or?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our March 24th meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next, number 4 is public comment. Do we have anyone in the public or the guests here that would like to have a say? And introduce yourself, please, and
Thank you for having me. I'm Jose Camacho. I'm from the Evergreen Park area.
yes, welcome.
I'm like a block from Smith Cove. Last time I was here, talked about something new to me, green space equity and how it applies to low income and how the Recreation and Conservation Office uses that as one of their metrics for judging not only themselves as a state agency, but the grants that they fund, the projects that they fund. For at least a few years, that's been an explicit goal of theirs. So I just want to reiterate, and I haven't sent them the letter I was hoping to, I'm just spinning too many plates. So it's kind of a thing now, so I look for it, I've learned about the public trust doctrine. And then serendipity, it turns out that the Department of Ecology is checking in on the Chevron tank farm in Evergreen Park. It's a toxic site. The petroleum industry used to inhabit that quadrant of the park. And so they injected it with a chemical and it's as clean as it's gonna get. It has to degrade by itself. And so right now it's actually still toxic, but they have a layer of soil.
You bet.
They've
done that.
So the science is kind of fascinating and the history is too.
Yes.
I've had occasion to go into the project search engine of the RCO. And it's a really long list of all the projects in Bremerton they funded. And the Evergreen Park is probably the longest list. They've spent a lot of money, including restoring the shore. So this is a very sensitive area. It's very frail. And the shoreline is kind of my thing. So for a lot of reasons, a lot of factors converge in Evergreen Park. We convinced Ecology to extend their public comment period because it was about to end when I contacted them. We got more than 10 people to inquire. So that comment period is open to the public. So if anyone wants to learn about the Chevron tank farm and how they reclaim this quadrant of the park, it's a big chunk of it. The comment period is open. They have a website. If you Google Becky Dilba at Ecology, she's a contact person, you'll see the website. And it's filled with documents. They're actually kind of historical and cool. And you'll see how over the decades, this very industrial area around Smith Cove has been basically made into at least an aesthetic, maybe not a healthy place yet, but at least an aesthetic area for the public, to have sanctuary. So that aside, the cross plan, I did a public record act request is how I try to keep educated and see how various programs are functioning. And I was disappointed to see that a document titled 2026 survey. So it had to have been after the PROS plan was approved and enacted in December of 2025. And it uses the vagrant term again. It has the question, if you have I'm paraphrasing, if you have any negative feelings about your park or the parks, is it because of the vagrant issue? So this was the exact one of the questions that really kind of struck a nerve to me back in 2025. So I have to reiterate that sometimes a policy is not in writing, sometimes it's de facto, sometimes it's just bias. It doesn't have to be malicious animosity. We live in a country that reveres wealth and has historically looked down at low-income people, people of color. There's a case by the US Supreme Court which basically said vagrant, some of the American heroes worshipped walkers and itinerants and vagabonds. You know, this case, US, no, it was Papa Christou versus Florida. It cited these poets like Thoreau and Whitman and how they relished the independent spirit, the nonconformist spirit of bums, people who just walked around and they might walk through a park and enjoy a pond or whatever. So it's really important that we do not, when we think of homeless people, it could be any kind of person, from the wealthiest person in the world to someone who's really frail and sick. It could be a blameworthy person, just like the wealthy can be blameworthy, or they could be saints. I've met saints who were stinky, right? Who were miserable, and they were saints. And I actually regret losing touch with some of these people. So that survey, if you have more questions going out to the public, using the vagrant term, what's happening is you're actually indoctrinating the public to not like us, not like people who look poor. And this isn't American. It is America historically. It doesn't have to be America today. We don't have to use that term. We don't have to think homeless and immediately go to criminal. It doesn't logically follow. A criminal can be someone who does crime. I've lived with the homeless. Some of them may be criminals. I've had wealthy people in my life and they were criminal. You can't judge the character by the income or lack of income. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the public that would like to bring up? Go ahead.
That's never I've spoken before here. And I just wanted to thank the Parks Department for putting up the barriers in Forest Ridge Park. It's cut way down on the traffic that comes in. Of course, it's sort of hard to tell yet because it's, you know, we're just starting to transition into the summer season, but so far it seems to be making a big difference in the amount of trash and the amount of dumping. And we haven't had anything like that going on since those barriers have gone up. And the other thing is, I've mentioned it several times before, I'd like to see a sign at the entrance to the park that says park closed from dusk to dawn. There are some of the other Bremerton parks do have that sign, and ours does not. It has a sign near the entrance that says, camping or parking after. And I don't remember exactly what the wording is, but something like that. But I think it would be more explicit if we also had a sign that said park closed dusk to dawn. And because already with the nicer weather, we're starting to get the drinkers coming into the park after dark and sitting around and with all their beer cans and beer bottles and whatnot scattered around. But it just would be a little bit better from the standpoint of they really wouldn't have an excuse, if there was a good sized sign, near the entrance, because they almost all walk in that direction, coming in to the park from First Street. That's all I had.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat.
There any other comments or any statements? No?
One of my friends said they're raising their hand on Zoom.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I've struck out that way myself.
Let's see, I'm not sure if I can give her permission, but. There you go. You there, Kimmy?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Good evening. My name is Kimmy Stevens, and I'm a registered nurse with 20 years of experience, as well as the founder of the Bremerton Homeless Community Coalition. And tonight, I just wanted to come here to discuss some like pretty critical concerns I have regarding green space equity and some potential grant issues. So, like we all know, the PROS plan has already been enacted, but I really do believe it has some significant flaws. My initial reading of it raised some concerns about its language. And boy, those survey questions, woo, really derogatory, particularly regarding its treatment and description of our low income and marginalized neighbors. So over the last decade, I've seen the needs of low income residents. They're often used, they're invoked to obtain money for from like the RCO funding, which you guys know about, I think, or opportunity zone dollars, and those good old community development grants. However, securing these funds do not always equate, or I never see them equate to genuinely like reaching the low income communities. We can like really see that by just looking around town. Take a look at Quincy Square. Where are those low income promised affordable housing units from the CDBG funding? So from my understanding, these RCO grants, they aim to support projects that are benefiting underrepresented and incredibly low income communities and promoting that green equity in public spaces. And unfortunately, your guys' PROS plan, it really exacerbates inequity. And instead of like alleviating it, it fails to provide for the communities that RCO really wants to embrace under their green space equity. So if like this public money, if you guys reach out to get this type of money and it's awarded based on the impoverished need of the poor, we really have to establish a clear connection to the people that these funds are meant to serve. And we can't just like do beautification projects that displace our neighbors, or make these safe, quote, safety plans that criminalize their very presence, their very existence in this life. Such as when Councilmember Mockler suggested that we turn those sprinklers on at night in the park to deter the homeless people. There's a lot of homeless children out there that I help. It's really sad to hear that. Or the current anti-camping ordinance that's disproportionately targeting homeless people only. So the current plan expresses frustration with these encampments, but it proposes like just disappearing people rather than any solutions. And so I'm just like, I keep wondering, why isn't the city advocating for a shelter and why are they pushing back against one? And then I wonder why I hope you guys can like go to the city and be like, hey, look at our survey. It shows that the community really wants a solution. You know, the unhoused people that I work with, they also want a designated place to go. They don't want to be in these parks, you guys. Come on. So, and actually, honestly, in the survey, it's there's like talking about encampments, but I'm really confused because there's no encampments. And so I'm just confused where this information came from and why the term is even used in the plan. There's a lot of concerns about how the community input was collected. The term vagrant, it appears, or it did appear many times, and that just perpetuates the stigma against our poor and marginalized people. And our Bremerton DEI director actually recommended its removal, and this derogatory term still remains. I went to the library today, I checked it out, it's still in there. And that raises some really concerning questions about accountability. And it's such an incredibly biased word. It's like using the R word for mentally handicapped people or the N word for Black people. Okay, that's what the Supreme Court ruled in the early 1970s. You can look that up. So I've encountered many people, housed, unhoused. Some people care, some people could care less. And in my 20 years of service, I've never encountered the term vagrant as frequently used as in this document. So that raised a lot of red flags. So there's also these claims in the PROS plan about increased transient activity and like these vagrants who are like these, they sound so scary. They're like monopolizing these restrooms. These all seem like really anecdotal stories, you guys. So like, I don't know what methods were in place to verify these claims. I'd like to have that data because my personal intense observations for the last 10 years in our parks do not match those statements. And so lastly, like the most troubling is that the data for this plan, it really appears to represent an incredibly small segment of our population. And according to your data, I think it was about 900 primarily individuals that own their homes, that they earn about $100,000 a year out of the approximately 45,000 people in our actual city who make an average of $64,000 a year, according to the data that you guys taught me. So the poor and unhoused residents, they were not adequately consulted. And this oversight really needs to be acknowledged. I hope you do. And as you guys like move forward with any requests for state funding, I just really want you to consider all of the points I made seriously. I have and I will be in contact with the state over this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. See, another hand is raised.
Yeah,
Um,
never really done this. There we go.
Brandy. Hello, Brandy, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I just wanted to read you guys a little something right now. Because it's just easier for me to just read my thoughts out so I don't like get too far off track. But I did want to also come in to address the serious bias, the harmful language, the deeply flawed priorities that are built into this POP plan. Okay, so you guys have over 40,000 residents in Bremerton, but this survey only reached 900 residents, and disproportionately, those residents happen to be making over $100,000 a year and are homeowners. So there was no real attempt made for this survey to actually reach like the poor and the unhoused residents, right? So if your job is to be doing these surveys to get these grants, then why aren't you getting out and making sure that more of the residents of Bremerton are actually having real access to these surveys? Because when people are in survival mode, they do not often have the stable internet, transportation, or time to participate in these surveys. So if outreach methods primarily reach affluent homeowners while excluding the low income and unhoused populations, then these surveys are not representative, right? They're just structurally biased. And that bias is made worse by the continued use of dehumanizing language like vagrants. And Bremerton has shown their face like multiple times with this, with the way that our city council members are talking about spraying people down with hoses, right? With the way that we're seeing emails being leaked from other city council members who are literally talking to these developers instead of actually using the money that they've already been given for these grants to help the unhoused and the disproportionate, right? So then, you know, you're making these public promises to change the language. Jane Reblaski got on, right? Made a whole spiel about, oh, she learned so much through the diversity, equity, inclusion. And it's crazy how it sounded like she was like mocking that, right? But yet she was going to change that. She was going to fix that, but it wasn't changed. It wasn't fixed. You guys are still referring to unhoused people as vagrants. It shouldn't even be in surveys that, oh, the unhoused are bothering people that have homes when, yeah, it should bother everybody that there are people that are unhoused, right? Because essentially we should be working to make sure that all of our residents have housing, have a roof over their head, have access to food and shelter, right? So when we're pushing these anti-camping ordinances that are punishing these unhoused residents for simply existing and having no real shelter options, right? Because Bremerton was given funding for porta potties. Where are the porta potties, you guys? Like, where are they? Why have we not put out anything that money has been funded for, right? We've been funded to get these people into shelter. A big way to get these, what you call vagrants, right, off the street, the unhoused off the street, would be to help get them into housing. And then the argument that a lot of these people refuse services, to me, just lacks because of the fact that there are just so many reasons that people cannot access services or do not want services. It's the distrust in these failed programs that are really just trying to make money, right? A lot of times this is just capitalism at its finest, right? So these people are
Brandy,
lost.
I hate to chime in, but can you kind of regroup
Yes,
this
I'm wrapping my point up. My point is getting to the end. Okay. So the point is, though, is that all of you are voted to represent every constituent of Bremerton, and that includes the unhoused. So when you're doing a survey that only includes people who make over 100K, who only includes homeowners, you are completely disregarding like most of the other residents in this town. And so I just want to make sure that you are aware, that we are aware that this is what's happening and we will not be standing for it any longer. And that's all.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you, Brandy. No other hands are up?
Nope.
Right. No other public comments, so we're gonna move on to staff reports and updates. The first one is Outdoor Fitness Center. Fitness Court.
Okay.
Tim.
Presentation. Okay, so I talked to you a month or two ago and kind of threw the proposal out to you about a fitness court. And I can't remember if we reported back or not last month that we had received a grant towards the purchase of the court. One thing that we've kind of considered since receiving that acknowledgement is the time frame for this grant. They were wanting it to be completed within the 2026 calendar year. We haven't, before me speaking to them, kind of late fall, early winter, which was after we submitted all of our proposal for budgets for city council, was we're excited about this type of facility, but we're not necessarily prepared to enact and get things moving forward, and didn't want to. We have some funding within our Parks Capital Fund, but I would much rather be able to have some time for us to get out and do some more community outreach. We have a site that's been identified, or 3 sites that were identified as kind of key locations that we think that this would be a good spot, but that's just our staff response. And so, in looking at it and looking at the timeline and everything else that we have on our plates, I approached the National Fitness Campaign and talked to them about kicking this to next year. And so they've gone back to their grant group, and their grant group supportive of that. In the meantime, they obviously want us to continue meeting, and so I've met with them actually Monday, yesterday, regarding the project. So I'll continue to have meetings with them, but in the meantime, like groups like tomorrow, I'll be approaching the East Bremerton Rotary and talking to them about this project and others, but looking towards some additional local funding or potentially grant funding to help us, so then we don't have to pull from our Parks capital account. To essentially right now, if we move forward with the project, we'd have the 35,000 from the National Fitness Campaign, and then we would have to pull about 200,000 out of our Parks capital account to be able to essentially pay for the entire site. So we've decided to kind of put a little bit of a hold on it until we really find the best location for it, and some additional outside funding to help support it. One thing we're fortunate with, and maybe unfortunate at the same time, is the expectation that a lot of our grants and a lot of our development within our parks, we nearly have 100% support from grant sources or donations to be able to help cover the costs of everything. And so that obviously is something that we'd like to try to do first. There's no hurry to get this put in, but want to take a little bit of time and do some outreach. From people I've talked to, there's a lot of support for this because it is open to the public. You don't have to have a gym membership. You can use it at any time. And it would allow us on the back side of the court, as I showed previously, to be able to have some community-wide type programming and classes out there. So anybody have any questions? This is more of like an FYI that we're going to kind of postpone looking at trying to get this developed in calendar year 26 and focus on 27 for the project.
We're waiting on the National Fitness Campaign to come back to us.
So
They're not
they've
saying-
come back and said from their grant committee, and that was my conversation with them yesterday, was that their grant committee is supportive of carrying over
Okay,
the grant funds to 27.
okay,
So what they do is they fund I think it's 50 per year grants, and they try to hit one location in each state. And so essentially what we're doing is we're locking in funding for the 2027 for the state of Washington.
Yeah.
Is what we're doing.
Good to me.
Yeah, it does sound good. Thank you for giving us the update on this.
Yes.
The next on our list is the Kitsap Lake Park renovation project and playground build.
Yeah, so just some progress photos here. The playground equipment was delivered. You can see the boxes there and the photo on the left-hand side. And then the posts have been in the process of being installed by a contractor. And then the next slide has some photos of today. The photo in the top right is the rendering of what the preferred playground plan was. So we had concrete delivered today, and one thing is adjacent to the playground between the fencing that's along the top of the slope and the playground, we actually ended up needing to shift the ADA access ramp over in order to accommodate all of the playground, because we're fitting a lot into this small area with the swings, and we're going vertical so we can maximize the play value there. But we realized that this area, it'd be a hard area to get grass to get established because it's in the shade. So we decided to pave it with concrete. And we're actually doing this in-house. So we're saving a lot of money. And we're going to put some picnic tables there. So it's a nice overlook to the water and also provides some additional seating around the playground. We have a seat wall on the back side of the playground. It's hard to see from these photos. And then we have benches on the other side. So this kind of provide some seating on the lake side. So yeah, at the same time, the contractor has been great to work with. They said that as long as they're ordering concrete to put the posts in, they can get us concrete for this pad. So that's what we were doing today. The playground build is going to be this Friday. So the contractor is installing the posts and the tall slide. We don't want volunteers doing that, but our staff is going to be installing all of the panels, and any community members that are interested in being involved in that. We're going to start at 9 a.m. This Friday, and BCAT will be out there to capture some of it around 11:30 or so. Yeah. So yeah, we're really excited. So then the finishing touches in the park after this will be the hydro seeding and planting. Have some planting to buffer between the playground and the adjacent resident there that you can see in the lower left-hand corner, and then also tree planting throughout the park. So yeah, we're very excited. Yeah. And the ribbon cutting for the entire park will be scheduled June 26th, and we'll get a flyer out to you on that as well.
Is it gonna be filled with like wood chips? Cause I noticed there's quite a big lip off of the ramp. So I was wondering if it's actually gonna be up
So
there.
the chips come up,
straight
the
up.
chips
Okay.
come up. Yeah. You need actually a good fall protection.
Yeah,
They do
yeah.
need it
The
to
chips
be-
will
yeah.
typically
Yeah,
kind of come around this area, so
Yeah.
the lip areas will be under
yeah.
the engineered wood fiber.
Yeah, 'cause it's
Yeah.
a bit of a dip otherwise.
Yeah, you need at least 12 inches or more for it to be safe, so. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Coming along. It's been a 5-6 year project altogether.
The playground part went fast, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're excited.
Any other comments, you guys? All right, okay, we're moving on. Next is the Pendergast Park Development, Dog Park.
So you guys got a copy of the first part of the grant application that's due April 30th, so that's this Thursday. We decided to go, so this is with the Youth Athletic Facility Grant with the Recreation Conservation Office, and the Pendergast Park actually qualifies as a reduced match due to the census tracts around the park, and Haddon Park did as well. It qualified for as an underserved area reduced match. So that allows us to not, typically with RCO grants, you are required to do a 1-to-1 match. So if you apply for $1 million, you need $1 million to match that. In this case, we only need 10%, but in order to do the scope of work that we need to accomplish to have a full recreational experience, we're gonna need to put some more city funds into it. So our approach here is to apply for the full maximum $1.5 million grant, which that has increased. This is the first time this year that the YF grant has allowed that much money to go towards this category with a $500,000 match. So that's a 25% versus 100% 1-1. And complete the accessible parking, the accessible restroom. You can see the pit toilet there in the upper left-hand corner of what's there now. It's not accessible. It's not user-friendly. It was installed in 1994. And turf one soccer field. So that's equivalent of a $2 million project. And then we're working with the Kitsap Alliance FC group to fundraise to do the second field and accessible pathways and LED conversion of the field lights. Hopefully we can do that all as one project, but we wanted to move forward with this scope. Yeah.
So, quick question, where is the chain link fence going? You've got it.
Yeah, that needs
I
to
mean, I
be,
know there is a
Yeah,
chain link fence on
yeah.
one side now,
the whole facility needs to be fenced in order to,
all the way around?
yeah, in order to protect the turf surfacing so that,
Wow.
because it is such an expensive product, yeah. Mhm. To
That may be
manage
a-
it, yeah.
Okay,
Cause we can't allow any like fireworks to go off in there or
right,
like things like that, yeah.
so are you gonna do the chain link fencing just around the one field, or are you gonna go all the way around?
All the way around, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But the scope of this project will just fund the portion around the one field, yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments?
So the final deadline
Mhm.
is July 15th, and we'll need to take a resolution to city council to get
Okay.
their approval to apply. So we'll be bringing that to the commission as well as a draft letter of support for your signatures at the next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so this is kind of the second portion of that agenda item. Brian, did you want to talk about the dog park?
Sure, I've got just a couple of more minutes here before I have to take off, and I apologize for that. But we had a round two of the installation, if you will, for the improvements there at the park. As you can see that they're within the pictures, you'll see the half whiskey barrels that I did speak about a little bit last month. The perimeter trails about 90% done. The rock is on site to finish that up. Folks last week installed some new exterior fencing across the front of it, as you can see in the top right photo. And then some of the play equipment that you'll see in the bottom right photo that's sitting right in the middle of the larger dog area, that was all pressure washed and cleaned as well. Some more bark was moved around. Trees are actually, as you can see, they're starting to bud out and starting to look pretty good out there. Still a lot more improvements to be done, but this is, it's a work in progress, and there's going to be a celebration of that progress that's going to be coming up this Saturday between 12 and 2 o'clock. So if anybody would like to join, we will be there, or at least I will, along with Leadership Kitsap. So that's kind of the update for today.
All right, thanks, Brian.
thanks, Brian.
You betcha.
On to new business. First one is Leadership Kitsap project.
Okay. This is when, yeah, so we have a group that reached out to us from Leadership Kitsap that wanted to partner with Parks and Rec on a project. And so the timing was actually really good when they reached out and said, hey, why don't you come and bring the proposal and concept to the Parks and Rec Commission. So here they are, and I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's Faith. I am an outreach coordinator at the Kitsap Humane Society. Sherry Rains, I'm on the Leadership Kitsap team. Ronan, also Leadership Kitsap.
Welcome.
And so, I can leave two papers. No, you're okay. Yeah, I just don't wanna like We clearly didn't reverse this. So the need is that, you know, when a pet is lost, well, oftentimes they're microchipped, but people don't have microchip scanners at home. And so they oftentimes will take them all the way to the Kitsap Humane Society to get scanned. And then often we'll leave them there, and then that's a burden on the shelter for a pet that might have been a block away from their home. And so the thought is if we can have more microchip scanners in locations throughout Kitsap County that are accessible 24/7, where people, if they find an animal, they can just take that animal and go to the microchip scanner station, find the chip, and then on that really small, but on that flyer example there, it actually has the instructions on how to first how to scan the animal to find the chip. When the chip information comes up, it's just a number. So then the next step is to put it into the database system to find out the owner's information. And then that company reaches out to the owner to let them know that their pet has been found and connects them with the person who's found the pet. And then the third step would be, you know, if they're not able to get a hold of the pet, what they can do next. So it's in hopes of reuniting pets with their owners sooner to alleviate the stress on the animal itself, the family who's missing their pet, and then also the shelters because they have animals who their owners or former owners are never going to back. And so to try and just help reconnect them sooner. And so our project is to have these scanner stations, and the scanner station would consist of the signage and then the scanner itself. And our hope is that we can mount them on existing bulletin boards. They would be laminated to cut down on cost. And then the scanner would just be hung on the bulletin board there with the instructions on how to use it. And it's a waterproof bag. The scanners are very affordable. So if something happened, it's, $35 replacement. Yeah. Did I miss anything?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
At least from what I understand. I mean, we're really excited about this project on the KHS side of things. I have some numbers here, but roughly dogs, when they're brought to the shelter, we have a 50% reunification rate.
Wow.
Cats, it's around 15%. So we're working on increasing the availability of microchips, doing a couple of different programs. We have a monthly vaccine and microchip clinic. We also are at reclaims if the animals are not already microchipped, offering that service, sometimes at cost. If, the community member needs it in order to make sure that, if this happens again, the animal can be reunited. A lot of that is reactive though, right? It's already when the animal's in our care, we've already been connected to the owner. But this project, right, is all about making sure that community members feel empowered, that they can be proactive, right, in making sure that the animal gets reunited with their family, and also just kind of creates a sense of, right, empowerment for the individuals because they themselves can work to getting this animal home. At the Humane Society, I'm the main person people reach out to if they have lost a pet. Dogs are found typically, within a mile radius of their homes. So being able to direct people to local parks and community centers just to be like, there's a microchip scanner, right? Someone's going to find your pet. If it's microchipped, you'll have it at home, right? That's going to be the most likely scenario. Will be extremely great, really helpful for us as we're trying to navigate that experience. But I will also say that the Petco Love Lost flyer that we will also be putting up is an organization that at KHS, the Humane Society, we already partner with. So all animals that are posted on Petco Love Lost actually appear on our website on our Lost and Found Pets page. Right, so that's another resource that we're kind of giving in tandem with the microchip scanner, right? The community member who found the animal can post that they scanned it for a microchip, right? And let people know that this animal is in their care, they're gonna be able to take it in, they're gonna take it to the Humane Society, this is where this animal's at, basically. Yeah.
Are there any other local communities that have this anywhere, or anywhere in the state that is doing that?
I know that there are humane societies that have started doing this. We actually stole the idea, as all you do with all big great ideas, right? To have a free microchip scanner at our facility. The one in the photo is actually posted to our main Kitsap Humane Society sign, right? So there are definitely humane societies doing it. I'm not entirely sure if this has been a community-wide effort yet, otherwise in the state. Yeah.
So what's your timeline, and how does your timeline relate to Firelink?
Yeah, so we can move pretty quickly to get the scanners installed once we have permission to install them. And so that's what we're working on right now, is getting, you know, those community partners that are committed to allowing the station to be there long term. And so for efficiency, we reached out to the parks district, so Bainbridge Island Parks, we reached out to Port of Kingston for one right downtown, and Kitsap County Parks as well. And I feel like there's one I'm forgetting, Paulsville, City of Paulsville. Yeah, so we're working with on those partnerships, and they're kind of in various stages, and so Kitsap County Parks is very excited about the idea and is actually working on an MOU. And so once we have that agreement, then we can go out and install them. So we would ideally like to have this all done before our graduation for leadership Kitsap. So like, you know,
End
it's
of
in
May.
early June for the graduation.
Right, so if we have
But-
the stations installed by the end of May,
Yes.
we graduate at the beginning of June.
Mhm.
But Sherry and I, but so for the longevity of the project, the Humane Society would then take over the maintenance, and you know, surveillance of all of the stations, to keep the project going, even though Sherry and I won't be involved in it.
And they are, I should say they're wireless. I just turned it on. USB charging, and they hold a charge for 15 hours of continuous use. And so they won't need to be charged very often, and we'll have extra scanners for the Humane Society to keep in office. And so rather than going out, charging and taking it back, they can just go out to a station, put a fully charged one in, and take the dead one back in and charge it. Sorry, do you have another?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, so since your timeline works, why don't you, when you announce it to the public, draw attention to fireworks, because that's when animals take off and are, you know, and will likely be in their neighborhood.
Yes, and part of our leadership, Kitsap project as well is to, acknowledge the, FIFA World Cup. That we're going to have a huge influx of tourists into our area as well. And that a lot of people travel with their pets and then are in an unfamiliar place, and the pet gets spooked and run and all that as well. So that, we've tied it into, a larger community need in that way as well.
And there will be a map that has all of the microchip scanner locations. The map actually also has all of like the pet friendly parks, and we reached out to the chambers to get businesses on there as well that are pet friendly. So it'll have like all of these things you could go do with your animal, and then also a layer that's specific for the microchip scanner location. So someone can quickly like pull that up, and that's actually, we've added a QR code at the bottom that will link to that with the other stations.
And that'd be on the Visit Kitsap website as well as.
Oh, thank you.
We actually discovered this at the Humane Society this week. Google Maps, even outside of your really cool map that I love, actually lets you list microchip scan stations, just like independent little entities. So we were able to put up our microchip scan station as like a place you could visit and utilize right outside of the Humane Society as an organization. I know that sometimes our hours can be a bit confusing to people because we have, you know, different departments doing different things, right? But the microchip, scan station, you know, you can use, it's accessible 24/7.
Do you know how many different park locations for City of Bremerton you're trying to?
So to kind of have a, to kind of cover Bremerton without people having to travel too far, we had determined, I didn't have that here, sorry.
Definitely Pendergast.
Do you mind? It's hard to do with this space. So, Evergreen, Rotary Park, Lions Park, Harborside, Fountain Park, I'm not sure if there's a bulletin board there. Willis Center, Boardwalk, and, Pendergrass, yeah. But if you guys had other suggestions, if there are better, you know, better locations, we just wanna try and make sure that they're kind of, you know, spread out, so that, again, when someone finds an animal, it's easy to quickly get that animal to the scanner location, because sometimes that animal is very freaked out and to take, go on a long car ride somewhere is not always great, yeah.
Have you,
Ideally would like a place that already has some kind of bulletin board or a sign post that we can just add the scanner station to, like where we're not able with our funding through Leadership Kids App to like add a sign. We wanna be able to use existing location, you know, even if it's just a park here sign, you know, that we can attach it to. And I don't know, cause I bring my dog to Pendergast, that there's already a bulletin board there, so.
well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you be using or willing to use, volunteers to help with the manning of the stations or like swapping out or getting new ones in? Because I'm sure I would be willing to help.
So that is the plan with it.
Yeah.
So after, Leadership Kids set everything up, the Humane Society will take
Okay.
over management. We're developing specifically, microchip scan, volunteer, you know, roles.
Good.
So that way, community members, right, as part of their job, can go make sure that the scanners are charged, actually collect data off of them. The scanners that we recommended that you guys get, and you did get, or planning to get, right? Actually save all the microchip numbers. So that way we'll be able to kind of pull that information as a Humane Society, run the numbers and see how effective these microchip scanners are being long-term. How we can increase the impact that they're having, and then, have those microchip numbers for reference if, something happens, and the animals are brought in regardless. Yeah.
Thank you, good.
Yeah.
I just have one. I wanted to clarify the process a little bit. So you scan the microchip and then that information goes to the company and
So-
they contact the person.
Yeah, it's kind of funky, because there are a couple of different microchip scan companies, and so their process is gonna be a little bit different, depending on who you're contacting. But the main idea is that you're able to scan the animal, right, get that microchip number, and then you look up in a directory what number that company is associated with. From there, the community member could then reach out to the company, let the company know, hey, I found this animal with this microchip, and then from there, the company will either share the contact information directly, they'll be like, we'll send a text, right, to the owner, letting them know that their animal has been found. Just sort of depends on the circumstance. It does require internet, cell phone, a device that can have that capability, but typically community members do have that. We live in a pretty, Wi-Fi friendly region, so, yeah.
I was just thinking it could be a little sketchy if the company gives the owner's information directly to the person who found it. You
That,
could take someone's dog and get someone's address and stuff.
when they share contact information, typically it's something that the owner has already provided, right? So people who sign up for microchips are doing so willingly, right, and they're giving their information freely with this intended purpose. Typically it's a phone number, right, and a name, maybe an email, but it's never anything more serious, people don't give out addresses. And then it is depending on the microchip brand, so each company will have their different rules and regulations about what they're willing to give out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think of it like a digital dog collar. Dog tag. Or not collar, tag, yeah.
So another place you might consider is the Boys and Girls Club in East Bremerton, just by kind of SARS there and the reason I suggest that is there's a lot of dogs around there. There's a lot of human sports activity, from the peewees up above to the girls fast pitch to the fast pitch field over at Legion, or whatever the name is calling it now. There's a lot of dogs that show up around there. That's another location you might consider.
Great.
Director, what do you need from this commission to move forward with this?
Probably, we don't have it as a voting item necessarily, but if there's general consensus that there's support, that would be helpful. And what we can do is, I can actually reach out to Alex or whoever you're working with at the county and kind of mimic what their MOU is, so then we've got consistency.
I mean, this seems like a slam dunk to me. I fully support this, and I would like to see one on the east side as well. Like Joan said, I was kind of thinking almost Blueberry, if we needed to do another city park.
Yeah,
We
so
don't
like
have
Lions will be one,
Yeah.
we'd love to promote one at Stephenson Canyon when the dog park goes in there, but I think the spot Joan speaks of not only of the areas you talked to, but the forested area that people
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
in
it's
and
the
dogs
forest
roam in
area
there a
that the
lot.
Pee-wees play
I
up
think that
there,
area would be a great
the
spot.
high school
Yeah.
basketball.
And it would probably be
A
easier,
dog would travel
yeah,
around there. pretty
probably be
quickly.
easier to get it at the Boys and Girls Club than out on the school
I think
district
so
side.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems like a slam dunk and I want to thank you for coming and presenting.
Yes,
to us.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Great job.
I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thought we might be able to do a demo and they could.
you got one?
Yeah, the microchip your wife put in.
My God.
So I'm sure you come out missing all.
It was my mom, she did it to me, not.
Oh, yeah. We love your moms. Okay, any more comments or questions? All right, thank you. I love that. Number 2, we've got the pros plan overview and
Yeah, I held on to them so
pass
then
it
you
down.
couldn't just sit and read this and not pay attention.
Thank you.
Well, we can be disciplined.
I know. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are your official copies
Cool.
of the 2026 pros plan. Again, it's really a 5-6 year plan. We'll be doing this again. Sooner than what we probably are ready for. The main thing I wanted to talk to you about today was really kind of focus on our next 6-year capital plan and kind of walk through really what's identified now within the plan. There is a 6 and a 20-year capital plan. But the 6-year obviously is the most immediate, and really it's the items that we want to try to identify, things that came through public comments as priorities within the community. And so this is really kind of our focal point and things that Colette and I and Brian are working on, and we'll work with you over the next 5 and 6 years. Are these projects. So what we wanted to do was just kind of talk through where we're at. Some of these are already in process, which is great, and they weren't necessarily when we put them on the initial 6-year plan, which is awesome. I know it's a little bit small, so I'll try to read them all so everybody can hear them.
Next slide has it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. It's a little bit bigger.
Thanks, Colette. 114.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell who created the slides. I looked at them, but I forgot. So we'll just kind of talk through them, and then if you have any questions, just feel free to let us know. We'll probably try to go through the top half, or kind of more of the bigger priority items and things that we've been working on. So obviously Kitsap Lake Park, completing the renovation, including our irrigation system and accessible playground. So irrigation system is in. Once the playground is completed, then we'll go back through and we'll do the hydro seeding. And so then we'll let the hydro seeding kind of take over the next month or so. And that's a little bit of the reason why we are doing the grand opening at the end of June. Not only is school out at that time, but we want the park to look fantastic when it's ready to go. We do have one other project that we hope to get completed, is in working with the local neighborhood group in that area, who are the main daily users of the lake. We're looking at putting in some extensions on the ramp into the water, because what we've found this last year is, because of the varying depths of the water, at times they have to, the truck and trailer can't get far enough into the water. And some of the rock that's at the end of the path is getting dispersed. And so they're not able to get traction. So adding a couple more sets of, essentially it's prefabricated concrete to that area. Our initial concern there was whether we'd have to go back through an entire process with the Corps of Engineers. But since that's all that we're introducing, they were supportive of this, and we're not bringing in, introducing new materials or other things that they were gonna have to go through a approval process for. So instead of a 2-year process, it's just something that we can get accomplished pretty quickly. And we're kind of waiting to find out where our budget ends up on this project. We're still pretty tight on things. And so, dependent on where that is, we may be able to purchase one, but we may have to use some capital funds to be able to complete those. But, Colette, anything else that you wanted to add on Kitsap Lake?
No.
Okay. Glen Jarstead Aquatic Center, those that have been around for a little while, we had funding that has been given to us to complete a building and pool assessment. So we're going through connections with all of the tribal organizations to make sure that they don't have any questions about the project. You may ask, why is the tribe being consulted if you're just doing an assessment? Well, the assessment's going to lead to actual work being done, and so getting their support now is the process that we need to follow. So that assessment's going to tell us essentially what needs to be done, and the condition, not only just with the pool but with the facility and the building.
It really needs to be done, huh?
Yeah, and yeah, it's something that's been needed for a while. So we do have funding for that, so we just need to get moving forward with that project. And
Are you, or would you be the contact person for who is tying in the library and YMCA activity that RFP?
so, I mean, I'm the one I'm probably
That's you.
keeping the most
Perfect.
up to
Okay.
date on it, because I'm on the board for the Y.
Okay, yeah, so you. are,
Yeah, so I kind of know the conversations that are happening, and again, this assessment's just gonna tell us how much we need to spend. Which will help us kind of decide and plan, and it'll prioritize things for us. So if, the Y could be building a new Y in the next 5 years, it could be 20 years. So this is gonna help us and them in planning, and we don't know yet, what might even happen, if the city would even be involved in a pool up there, or if we would continue to manage a pool here. So those are conversations that have to happen, so. NAD, Marine Park. So we have the biggest priority there is there's a bunker, that's been utilized. And we need to seal that off to keep it safe. And so what that includes is we're gonna have to build a roadway in, to be able to get equipment in there, just because it's a lot of ups and downs. And when I say build a roadway, it's not super extensive, just enough to be able to get our equipment in there. But we're hoping to be able to move forward with that project this fall, once things kind of start slowing down after the summer. We've tried to seal off the entrance before by welding it, and the weld's been broken. And so I actually talked with the directors group this morning too about some potential other options as well. But that's kind of the big project there that we're looking at, is just to make sure that that area stays safe. Manette Park, this is one that was about a year ago. We were working with some of the neighborhood members about concerns with pickleball and the noise level. If you remember, at Manette Park, we have the concrete, essentially block walls. And so with pickleball, that sound kind of reverberates off of everything. It's very loud. So one thing that I've done this last year is worked closely with the pickleball group, the West Sound Pickleball Club, and really tried to focus their efforts and energy towards playing at Lions to take some pressure off, because Manette really isn't meant to be a destination pickleball court. And that's part of the concern, is that there's a lot of people driving in and parking in the area and utilizing that space. And so trying to keep the focus more towards Lions. So towards the end of last year, the report back I got was that it was pretty successful, that things were starting to shift. So just kind of continuing on that. We've looked at various fencing options and looked at what other people have done as well. And it's more like that soundproofing type fencing or wind screens. And I don't know if there's a perfect solution to it, but that's something we're going to just kind of continue to watch, no matter where pickleball's played. really. Anything else on that one? Okay. Pendergast, regional parks, so the red items that are highlighted are more of the priorities that we're looking at, so phase 2 of the master plan, which we talked about today. The 2 synthetic soccer fields, and a new restroom at the soccer fields. So that's, and relamping the parking lot, so the relamping isn't necessarily included in that project, but it's something that we're looking into, putting LEDs in. Not only for cost saving, but for lighting and to concentrate that light in within the parking lot only area. So those are kind of those key areas. Ideas overlaying the parking lot, the picnic shelter, adding a picnic shelter, renovating the concession restroom building. That's something that we've talked to that some of these things might come together in a larger scale master plan for Pendergast. Concession stands are kind of a thing of the past in a lot of athletic facilities, and they're looking more towards mobile food trucks and carts that come in for events and then leave. We're actually talking to one right now that wants to come in for softball season and be available during our softball season and when tournaments are going on. So that'll give us a good idea, at least for our daily activity, how successful that could be. So obviously accessible pathways, and then replacing the playground that's there are some of the priorities at Pendergast. The off-leash dog park, this is a centralized dog park that's been in the last at least 3 PROS plans. This is what we're talking about at Stephenson Canyon. So this is a project, again, a year ago, we had no plan of how we were going to move forward, and now we've received Department of Commerce funding, and then we'll be really kind of kicking that into high gear this fall as well, with the public input process and design and development, and then hopefully a year from now we'll be getting construction going and getting ready to open up a new dog park, which would be awesome. The downtown fountains, I'm gonna just talk about that on the next item. So I've got a little more detail on what we're looking at there. The downtown fountains have been there for about 20 years. I don't know if anybody has a 20-year-old computer, but that's essentially what we're working with is technology from 20 years ago. And as you're probably aware, there's a lot of areas that it's been that long. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of areas aren't properly functioning, and so we're trying to create solutions and try to see how we can do it reasonably over time, because things aren't inexpensive. Let's see, Forest Ridge Park. Obviously, installing entry gate was a high priority, so we've been able to get that taken care of this last year. Development of a master plan, that was one of those sites that when we previous members, when we were talking last year, as we were going through and taking our inventory of sites, that's one, this building are the ones, those types of facilities that we said, we just need a new master plan. We need to master plan things out. Because there's just so many items that we were writing down that we needed to address. And so really trying to figure out what is the vision and what is the identity for Forest Ridge Park. So that's going to be an exciting one. Obviously, the tennis courts is something that needs to be addressed. Playground area, the restroom, really everything in the park. The flow of traffic, what's pedestrian, what needs to be accessed for vehicles. So that's really, and making it, well, speaking of access, making it fully accessible as much as possible with pathways. So that's going to be something that we will be working on moving forward. So we'll have to find funding again to be able to put this master plan together, as they aren't inexpensive. But that's definitely a priority that we want to see occurring moving forward. Haddon Park, obviously we completed some updates last year, but there's definitely still some vegetation and things along 15th Street that we'd like to take care of. So removing and replacing the fencing, and we've got a number of dead or dying trees along 15th Street. Consideration of a community garden. I'm actually working with a group right now of developing something on the far end. So basically that kind of green space area beyond where the pathway is on the far end of the park. Working with a really kind of almost a self-starting garden group that wants to develop something that's going to benefit the food bank, is what the project would potentially accomplish. So we'll provide more information as we move forward. We're gonna kind of pick up those conversations again after May 15th, I think it is. But probably next month, I'll be able to give you some more information about what that project might look like.
The location in the park where there's been one previously.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so on the fencing there as well, just as a side note, we're just gonna continue until we find funding, continue to kind of cut back because positive and negative, the vegetation that's there is probably keeping the fence upright. And so if we were to remove the vegetation, then the fence is probably gonna come down. So we're just gonna manage it in the meantime until we can find a funding source to replace that. Urban forestry management plan.
This is an item that we've had on our pros plan for the last several pros plans as kind of a placeholder, because about every 6 years we have a certified arborist go and do a assessment of our forested parks and our forested areas and like Evergreen Park to identify any risk trees or dead or dying trees. And then also then we need the money to typically hire someone to remove them or prune them. So this is just sort of a generic placeholder so that we don't forget and that we have it in our budget.
Yeah, so that was about kind of the main ones that we wanted to cover with everybody. The rest aren't unimportant, but things like pump track, splash pad, those are types of things that if we are able to determine funding source or granting source and potential locations, these are things that have come up in the plan. As far as public comment, are items that people would like to see happen. Already kind of spoke to the Sheridan Park Community Center and the Bremerton Senior Center and park maintenance. We would love to see us all potentially be in one, be co-located in one facility. So then we can just better communicate and be a better service to the public. Yeah, anybody want me to cover NAD, Lions, Evergreen, Blueberry? Any of those? Obviously just things that we've identified, they're in the pros plan. Just in speaking of the pros plans, for those that weren't involved in the process, the way things are really sectioned out, we've got a lot of the community-wide surveying summaries that are throughout the entire pros plan. The bulk of the information, if you're curious, would be in the inventory, which is chapter 2. So that goes from our regional park to our community parks, neighborhood parks, pocket parks, natural areas, the plazas, streetscapes, greenways, trail systems, and then our facilities, special use type facilities like Gold Mountain Golf Course and Ivy Green Cemetery, those types of things. So they're all sectioned in there. And each facility identifies a little bit of their history, what the inventory is when we went through and looked at all of the sites, any management concerns that we have, and then improvement recommendations that came from staff and through public input process. So, and then obviously in the back is all of our resources. So the full survey information's in there, all the minutes from last year's meetings where we discussed the pros plan are all in there as resources as well. So this is kind of your guidebook over the next 5 years. So this will be something too that when I work with Greg Dawson, our chair, about looking at how do we want to plan our meetings, and if there's topics that we kind of want to cover, please feel free to share with us too during your comments as well. Typically, if we can discuss them as comments, and then we can plan for them in the future. But if there's certain sections maybe throughout the year that we want to kind of look at or review, that's all up for, it's not just staff that's creating this agenda. It's input from the commissioners and from Greg. He and I meet typically the week after our Parks and Rec Commission meetings to just kind of debrief and then talk about the next month's meeting. That way it gives staff about 3 weeks for us to kind of plan and get some things put together for agenda items if there's certain conversations that we want to have. So that's kind of a good schedule that we've set up.
And the photos on the front highlight our most recent park renovations, right before this was adopted. So the fishing pier and the boat launch, the Kiwanis Park playground, and then there's 3 photos of the Haddon Park renovation.
So are we done with that section?
Yes.
All right, so now the downtown fountain study.
Okay. So we have a series of different pictures, and they're all fairly similar as far as what the talking points are. As I mentioned, we really need to long-term look at replacement of all of the electronic and mechanical systems. So this is just an example of one of the panels in the control rooms, just for the stair fountains. I was gonna call them the leapfrog fountains, but the stair fountains, and then does it also control the circle fountain, or that's totally separate? Okay.
But this one has 2 different rooms.
Yeah.
To control just.
Okay, yeah, so this just kind of gives you an example. So we have 5, 6 different areas down there that have fountains, and each of those rooms look like this. So they're not controlled from one centralized area. They're essentially controlled either underneath somewhere or adjacent to. But the systems are massive. I mean, these were installed by the company that did the Bellagio. And we tried to reach out to them to try to reconnect, but they are now located in Dubai. So they found a place that they could put lots of fountains. So we've actually have a company out of Tacoma that we connected with, and then a company that does a lot of work with Public Works and their water treatment facilities. And one of their staff used to work on some of these fountains about 10 years ago. He retired, sold his company, and then now is working for this other company. So we've actually been able to reconnect with him. So he was out here 2 weeks ago. And so he's going to give us some ideas of what we can do to kind of get things back and running. And kind of a theme with all of the fountains is goal 1 is to get them functioning and to get them working, the fountain portions of them, so water flowing. Some of them, like the Harborside area. So here's the conference center. Just for this fountain alone, this is the control room for that space. This one hasn't functioned, my understanding is, for 3-4 years, maybe.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been here 1.5 years and it hasn't. And I was hearing at that point, maybe 3 years prior to it wasn't functioning. This is a high profile spot. And so we want to ensure that if it's not reasonable to get it up and running, we need to repurpose this space somehow. And get something there instead of having what's there now. Just something that looks non-functioning, especially for those. It's a very visible spot. A lot of people are at the convention center, at the hotels right there. But yeah, essentially this one's not working at all. So this is the only one that's not functioning at all. Memorial Plaza, again, these are the control rooms for Memorial Plaza. So the trickling down into the basin there. Some of these pictures were taken, I think, last summer and summer now, because you don't have any water flowing there. But some of the shooters and the lighting aren't working. A lot of the lighting in most of these spots aren't working. Harborside's one of those. Our goal with like Harborside is to just keep the jets pumping out, and right now we're not gonna probably worry about getting the lights functioning, because that's a completely other animal, but as long as we can get water flowing, that's kind of our main focus right now. So again, receiving bids, this is a spot too where we need to replace, there used to be liners in there and then they removed them at one point. We're still waiting to find out why that happens, you know, whether they just deteriorated or what happened. But liners are needed, so they're essentially functioning right now without liners. And so you can kind of tell there's not standing water in some of the control rooms, but there's some water that is infiltrating into that control room. Like I said, same thing for Harborside. The control area is essentially behind that fountain there. So looking at adding the liners back into this side as well. We did do some work this last year to get these up and running. We were having some difficulties, but they were able to fix some of the systems at this site. So really the main goal for this summer is, well, for the next month probably, is to see what we need to do to get this back up and functioning. We internally don't necessarily have funding set aside that we can use to get this going, and we really need a cost first. And then we're gonna work with finance and find out you know, what type of funding or where we can seek out some funds to get this back up and functioning. And then seeing if we can get the leapfrogs here. It does trickle here, but the leapfrogging isn't happening. So those two are kind of our key projects for this summer. And I say this summer, but to get going for this summer is where we're at. So I don't know if you had anything else to add. Colette got to go on a tour.
Yeah,
Of that.
my recollection is that the lining, degraded, you know, from the sun and from just use, you know, and so it had to be taken out, but then never had the funding to replace it. So we're losing a lot of water on those fountains.
Yeah, and a lot of systems at one point, my understanding is originally Public Works was managing the fountains within their electrical division. And some staff left, or it got changed over at some point to Parks and Rec. And Parks and Rec doesn't necessarily have the experience or the education in general. I mean, we manage and maintain parks, not necessarily fountain systems. So one thing that's been nice with Chance being the new Berthune being the new Public Works Director is that this is something that's kind of a passion for him. He likes to get his mind wrapped around new projects, and so
Yay.
yeah, for Public Works, they're not saying they're taking it over, but they're definitely helping us look through. He was in some of the photos and some of his staff, so we're kind of re-energizing that partnership between Parks and Rec and Public Works too in the last couple of years. But hopefully they'll be able to help create some solutions for us at that site, at those sites, but.
So I know this is not connected to the fountain specifically, but more the parks. I did see that a note in there that you were gonna do some landscape renovations in that area. So I just wanted to, I mean, I know you know, but you know, some of those trees down there are not only magnificent, I mean, they are hundreds of years old that were brought in and you know, planted, I mean, and they've been, and so there's a lot of people who are passionate about those trees and.
Are you talking about down in like Harborside area?
Yeah, those trees.
Yeah.
And they are magnificent.
Yeah.
You'll never find another park like.
Yeah, our landscaping, especially, so we'll have 2 work projects essentially in the next month down in the downtown area. between Public Works and Parks and Rec. It sounds like maybe the week of, and I talked to Chance about it today, the week of the 10th of June or 11th, whatever that Monday is. It's gonna be kind of all hands on deck, and we'll be down there with street sweepers, their Vector trucks, power washers, just to try to clean up a lot of things. And having 35 people working on it as opposed to, 2 or 3. So we're gonna be able to accomplish a lot more. Part of this is in preparation for summer activities. And then, but there's also a lot of other individual work that's getting done down there. And so it'll be cleaning up some things, adding bark. I think there was some Earth Day projects that were down there last week that Public Works provided some mulch for, which was great. But yeah, just kind of beautifying some things. I don't think we necessarily have a lot of removals or any removals planned unless they're dying or dead
Right.
trees. And a lot of those tend to be in planter boxes.
Yeah. You might, one person you might consider talking to about the trees is Dan Robinson from Land and Gardens.
Okay.
He's a magnificent bonsai person, and he and I've had quite some conversations down there, but the former city and parks leaders were less than receptive, but
Okay.
so, but he would be a really good person to talk with about those trees down there.
Okay.
And preserving them.
Good contact. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
That's all I have.
all right. Next up is commissioners' comments. Alex, have anything to say?
I mean, I've mentioned it to Tim before, but the parking at Blueberry, people keep parking in the no parking area. I'm wondering if we need better signs or like some striping or something. That makes it really hard to get out.
Oh, and along the edge there.
Yeah, and there's,
So you
you
can't
can
back
back up
out.
the street too, or I think the church lot lets you park there too. Cause it's just frustrating, cause yeah.
And
bigger
dangerous.
Cars, yeah, you
Cause
can't
you
get
got
out,
kiddos running around there, yeah.
yeah. Yep,
That's
those are
it?
my comments.
All right, thank you. Ben?
How's the school
Oh.
construction going? I haven't
yeah.
been to that side yet.
I don't know really have
haven't
a
either.
concept of schools
Yeah.
anymore, so.
On the other side.
Yeah, I wanted to go on the record and congratulate Mr. Scott Evans. Scott Evans is I call him the athletic director here at the City of Bremerton Parks and Recreation. He's been with the parks a long time. Scott was awarded the Director of the Year by USSSA Washington, which is the governing body for slow pitch. Scott operates the largest slow pitch softball league in the state.
Really?
And he is an amazing man, and he is an amazing asset for our city. Just wanted to congratulate Mr. Evans. It was pretty neat.
He likes sweets.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you.
No, that was really awesome.
It was really neat.
Yeah, really cool. And he didn't go to the award ceremony.
He did not.
Cause he didn't want to.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love it. It was presented at our
Yeah.
coaches meeting here to him, which was neat,
Oh,
in front
good.
of all
Yeah.
his coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing too is just to see him interacting with his team managers and players.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got such great rapport with everybody, and you can tell that there's so much respect for him. So I don't know if anybody's ever worked with adult athletes before, but they tend to think that everything could always be better. And they're always on the wrong end of the deal. If something happens, if they get ejected from a game or, but yeah, just to hear him even interacting in some difficult situations, just the way he holds himself. Yeah, he does a great job. And I think that's a test to why the program's maintained and grows every year. So. Yeah,
Sounds
no,
like it
thank
was
you.
deserved.
Very much so. Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
much so.
Hey, Joan?
No,
No, nothing?
no comments. Other than I've already made, so.
How about you, Dave?
Just real quick, I mentioned before, like, kind of have a special interest in Haddon Park because I live so close. And recently I had the opportunity one of my neighbors and friends is a real estate agent with Manette Realty. And he basically, I was telling him about the possibility of doing the feedback, garden and whatever. He said at any point in time, if there's any events or something like that, he representing Manette Realty would love to assist us in sponsoring or doing anything down at the park.
They like to help.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
That's it, all right. I don't have anything. Thank you guys for helping me and running the meeting.
Good job.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't miss anything, did I?
Well done.
Oh, well done. Good job.
I know, I was like,